What's up, great and glorious human beings? It is Tuesday, and we are back for yet another episode of Buy the Run Book with the wonderful Robbie Emerson and Mendy Green. So we'll go ahead and bring them gents on. We're going to cover 2.196. We had a few things left over from that, and then we'll jump right into 2.198. As per usual, if you guys have questions or things that you're curious about that you want the team to discuss, drop them in the chats. We are trying to monitor them the best we can. So drop them in there, send us a message so we can talk about them. And other than that, back to you guys.
Thank you, El. Hey, Robbie.
Okay. Hello. Right, I'm just reading through the 4 that we had from last time. They're actually quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple. There were others, and these were ones that like you've picked out from a list, right? Like we didn't even cover all the ones in this run book necessarily. So, or in this release note run book.
No, absolutely everything.
No. Yeah. So the first one you have listed that we haven't covered was 68629, right? So that's out of the setting number of columns on the end user portal, new ticket screen at ticket type level. So what made you, now I can ask you this because you're here, like what made you think this was interesting enough to call out specifically?
Well, this is one of those things where people have always mentioned the difference between the agent portal and the user portal of actually most people seem to prefer the alternative, right? In the end user portal, it's 1 and it's always 1 and it's a very straightforward, let's call it flow. In the agent portal, depending on the size of the field, it can put it all together into a single column or into multiple columns in a single row, and then you end up with a completely different look.
Form experience, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. Okay.
So while they're still going to be different because the agent portal doesn't have a defined number of columns, you can at least make some of your forms a bit smaller in the end user portal. If they are a bunch of checkboxes, for example, you can put all those together by having 5 columns per row or something along those lines, as opposed to having to have such a long form if there's a lot of
things. You're talking about like this, for example.
Yeah.
We can come into configuration. So I don't even know what ticket type that is. Let's go check. So if we're looking at self-service portal, here we can see that the request report a problem, report an issue, logs a ticket with a ticket type of incident. So if we were to go to the incident ticket type, right? You're saying, is it on the forms or
settings
is it
tab?
What?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Don't know. Number of columns is what you want to look for.
That doesn't belong here. They should move this.
Yeah.
So if we make this to like 2 or 3, for example, then, and I don't know if it's visible because it's going to depend on like what fields we have available for them to pick on, right? That's the other thing.
In theory, impact and urgency should be one of those that can be made smaller, but we'll see.
Yeah, and that is visible on the portal. So let's share this tab and just refresh. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay. That's kind of interesting. And then contract is down here because it's separate. If we had moved that up, it probably would have been included, or maybe it's in a different group.
I think it's in a different.
It's after it groups. That's why it looks like that. But if I put impact urgency contract, not that we want that field showing on the client side, but just as an example.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, and then it's kind of annoying because like the hint is underneath the label. Like, why can't they put it under the field?
Yeah.
So it keeps it all level. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Same for the agent portal though. It does the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Agent portal does the same thing. Yeah.
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 But
okay.
The attachment one is really funny. I just noticed if you just go back on the form, the attachments one also goes into the 3 when you can't have anything down there with attachments. So that's a weird choice. But other than that, it's one of those. If you need it, you need it. It'll be useful to you, and it means that we can condense those forms a little bit.
The field really should exist under forms, under the self-service portal new ticket form is where it should be. So that's bad that it's there, I think. Yeah. And then the other interesting thing is like they should give us that same level of control for agents too. Like, why is it only on the end user, right? That should be configurable both here and on the agent side. So I feel like we have a here. This would be another option. We have a feature request coming.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's interesting. Next one on the list that you had was this is actually a cool one. The ability to filter Microsoft CSP site value mappings by attribute. So what that means, this is actually not a complete. This is not a complete sentence. It doesn't actually say what it means. I don't think. But what you can do, one of the things that you're able to do, and I don't know if I have CSP on my system to show you. No,
I might have one I can show this on. You keep talking, I'll see if I can find it.
Okay. So basically, under CSP, you have the ability to set now a custom value, a custom field value based off of a user mapping. You know what? I think I also have one. Rising Tide. It's like our training one that we were doing should have CSP at least connected, or somewhat connected. Even if it's not
Here we go.
valid anymore.
I've got one here.
You're gonna steal it from me?
Yeah.
You're gonna break all the placement?
Should be fine.
You can add it to the scene or something. Elle's gonna. There you go.
There
yeah.
we go.
So right here, right? So when you're doing a site mapping, right? So are you do the first one, right? And choose like a site. At the bottom where you have values, you can basically assign, according to the mapping, you can assign a value to a custom field. What you can do now is you can limit that value to based off of groups in Azure. So I think that's what that release note is talking about.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Yeah. Whereas before, like anyone who matched that mapping would get that value set. Now it's based off of the value of the group name.
Yeah.
So you can condense, if you were previously doing multiple mappings based off group to set a value of a field. A use case for this that I've seen people do is like user billing type, for example.
Yep.
Based off Azure Group, you can bring in people as like email only users or as fully billed users and so on, and then those values will be set on Halo as a custom field value.
Yeah.
That
we can go right through to setting this value based on these user imports, and then just to go right through the whole thing. If we then were to create a recurring invoice, let's do that one.
Automated quantity calculation.
Yeah,
based off users. You can then do criteria.
Where this value
is equal
has 1, then this would be like our, let's say, full users.
Exactly.
And then if we could do the exact same thing, but say this should be our half users or our remote users or whatever other quantity that you want to create. And it's all the same thing, but where this value is equal to 2, for example. Then these calculations will be done based on those number of users. The only thing which you don't get when you do this filtering is you cannot do proratering. We have a lot of people who sort of ask the question, and then once they realize they can't do proratering, don't tend to mind so much. But you can't do proratering if you do any of this criteria. That's the same for users, assets, all sorts.
Yet.
But yeah.
Yet, Robbie, it's coming.
Oh, yet. I thought you said yes. I don't
yet. You can't do it yet. It's coming.
Okay.
All right, so let's go back to our release notes. That's something that we got a confirmed ticket number. That's with the non-set time frame, but it is coming.
Adding even more confusion to Halo's pro rata system.
That's going to be improved as well. That's also work in progress. All right, so the next one's interesting is adding the ability to add assets to scheduled tickets using custom SQL query, right? So this is kind of cool. If you've ever done any kind of scheduled ticket in Halo, you know that it's kind of annoying to add your users or add the assets that the scheduled tickets are for. When I first started off in Halo, they were like, yeah, just go to scheduled tickets and just choose the user it's for. And and then don't worry about it. And I was like, what do you mean I have to choose the users it's for? Like, we have hundreds or thousands of users, and like, what happens if when we get clients at the time on the MSP, we were getting like 20 or 30 groups at a time because we were taking on like regionals. And so then we'd have to add like 50 or 60 users each time. Like, this is crazy. So I made them put in this thing. I was like, can't it just be dynamic where we can just, choose the criteria? And they're like, what if we give it to you in SQL? I'm like, okay, that's even better.
Yeah.
Give me a SQL query. So they added this in, but they wouldn't do it for assets because we couldn't make a strong enough business case for us. And they were like, we just gave you the users, leave me alone. So they've just now, this was like over 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Yeah.
And they've just now added the exact same thing to assets as well, where you can use a SQL query to determine which assets are going to be linked to the schedule ticket. And then based off of the schedule, you can set whether you want to do based off every user or every asset. If you're doing every asset, you can just put in these assets here, and then it'll just generate, it'll use the query to identify which assets should be linked. And it's kind of like real time. So for example, if I do, I don't know, we have to pick like a ID, and we just want the ID, right? So I'll just do top one DID as ID from device, for example. I don't actually know if I have any assets. Why? Oh, I can't save it until we actually. Is it not treating the query as having an asset on here?
Active is unchecked, but I don't think that
doesn't matter. Like, it's already
Yeah.
saved, right? So I should be able to make changes. Like, again, that works, right? So that's there. I can remove the user, probably, but then at least one user is created. Okay, that's fine. If I schedule and change this to
Change it to
become asset,
asset.
at least one asset to create a ticket
Yeah.
for, which is also fine. Let's see if we have, yeah, we've got assets. Okay, confirm, save. So that worked. If I remove the asset and then use SQL query, DID, which will be ID from device, right? That's the table.
Yeah.
I think it's broken. I think it's not
Add
letting
an
me.
asset as well. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a bug. I think this is
It
not
will
how
probably
it's
still
supposed to.
use the SQL query, but yeah.
Does it though?
Who knows?
Doesn't look like it. Here's our reporting real quick. Let's just see what comes back here. All right, so that's 16. So if we're looking at the asset, that's going to be the ID 16. Right, that's this one.
Just
This server.
the same
Console
one,
function.
coincidentally, but
Is it the same one?
yeah, I think so.
It is. Okay, so what if we change this to become top 5, right? There it goes, boom. All right, so then you can see like it's going to be, and you can use like warrant. Oh, you can't see the screen. My bad. Hold on.
Yeah,
There you go. Top 5, right?
Cool.
So you can use like SQL conditions in terms of like date or software installed on that or anything else that you want to use. I would encourage you to not do something that would take like 5 minutes for the query to run. But you can essentially just return the ID number from that device, and it'll link those assets to here. So if I do something like 25, for example, it's going to pull 25 assets to create the ticket for, as you can see, right? But it does look like there's a bug there where you do have to have at least one asset specified first before you can save it. And if I save it without it, then it just comes back to that one asset. The question I would have, though, Robbie, is like,
is it always going to make it for that asset irrespective of?
How do you always know my question?
Yeah.
Not equal to 16.
16, yeah.
Save.
I did get rid of it.
I don't see it there.
Yeah, it disappeared. So
yeah, okay. So it's not the end of the world, but you do have to have an asset in there before you can save it. Also, another neat feature that was added to the release notes. That's pretty cool. Bug aside, at that point. What else do we have? Settings been added, appointment types, time retention point. Okay, so this is an interesting, or not interesting. This is a fun one, I think, because people don't realize the ramifications of this. Right?
It's
like
super useful.
We have a problem with MSPs who make appointments expecting the appointment to be like an internal reminder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then
what happens is they get called from their client to be like, hey, we have an appointment now. They go like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Because what happens is by default, when you're on a ticket, and you set up an appointment off that ticket, then by default, it's going to include I don't know if I have create appointment here. By default, the other attendees is going to include that client, right?
Yep.
And so there's a couple things about this. Number one, the not very well known option that we make people change in our onboardings is under the form, under defaults. I mean,
Yeah.
we can do the default attendee of end user of ticket can be blank, right? And so based off ticket type, that'll be blank, essentially keeping that field empty by default, and then making you have to choose that option. But it's still not necessarily, like I said, it's per ticket type. It's not per appointment type. It's very annoying still. It's not the best option. What they've done now is under appointments, appointment types, within the appointment type, let's say reminder, we can come in here and check this box, which would basically prevent you from being able to add attendees to that appointment when it's just a reminder. And it'll also strip the attendee from the appointment if it is in there. So for example, if you forgot to change the default value on a ticket type, or if you don't want to change that default value on a ticket type, you can have it strip it based off the type of appointment being selected.
Combined with the default appointment type, right? Either in the action or the ticket type,
Exactly.
again, meaning that your default isn't a reminder. The reminder doesn't show the attendees field and doesn't add the end user, giving me that easy flexibility that if I change the appointment type, the user will then appear, right? Rather than having to, as you had it with blank, then have to type them in, right? Yeah, we got this one added. It seems to be it's a ConnectWise thing, right? Appointments for everything is very much a ConnectWise thing, and we had a ConnectWise onboarding where they almost fell apart because they couldn't do this, or it wasn't as intuitive as it was before. So this was our solution, which is it's nice. It makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that basically wraps up at least the ones on 196 that we were looking at. I don't know if there was anything else that we wanted to. I think we did. I think we covered action groups last time.
Yeah, we did. You covered project loading efficiency.
Right, that was the other big one that we wanted. How about add a new setting to auto disable runbooks after X permanent failed attempts in a row?
Yeah.
Didn't really talk about that. Added the ability to bulk update agents. Not really much there other than request logout, update license type. Cool. I think that's basically it. We can move on to the next one, right?
Yep.
All right. So 298, which is the first beta version. Now we say that keeping in mind that currently the 2.208 has just hit release candidate.
Yeah.
Right. So it'll become stable in several weeks or so, and then everything we're talking about now you'll be starting to see. But as of today, unless you're on a beta or release candidate build, you're not going to see anything that we're going to start talking about on 298. Do you remember anything from this version? Because it feels like it's forever ago for me, Robbie. Do you remember anything on this version that was actually interesting that you're looking forward to?
That third one down, actually second and third one down, both
added an option ticket area level to add an image.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. We actually use this on our own internal Halo. It actually does look kind of cool. Give me 1 second. Let's just flip. Let's show you what that looks like, right? We're going to close some tabs here and share this tab here. So these are ticket areas, right, that it's talking about. And if we go to configuration and go to tickets areas, we'll actually have the ability to pick any one of these areas, and we can now put under advanced to show an image in the page header. So what does that look like? Well, let me show you the URL that we have. I'm not sure this is a good idea actually, but I'm going to do it anyways. It's fine. It's fine. Right. So we can do this, and this becomes the dark mode, and so we can save this. And upon doing that, we now see, if I go to service desk, there's now the Rising Tide logo right here. Right. So it's kind of a nice little thing. And what that allows for is like co-managed IT. If you have like a co-managed IT area, you can put their logo up in there. So a little nice branding there. The other thing is like there's a URL you can put in there. I wouldn't necessarily recommend using that because You don't control if it opens in a new tab or not. It's kind of stupid.
Classic.
Let me just put in our website URL here and save this, right? So if I go to Service Desk and click on it, it just takes me directly in that tab, and it does not actually open a new tab for it.
Can you use HTML there, do you think?
You're asking dangerous questions, Robbie.
Views it with an A.
The answer is no, but I found a workaround? Yes. Am I one?
Nice.
Is it one I'm willing to talk about? No.
Yeah.
Let's move on from that conversation. All right, so that's that one. Ticket area, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the reporting one, the next one down is really cool as well.
Mm-hmm. So now you can create stacked bars based off data set with one field on the X account and on the Y axis, and have the bars on the chart split based off the value of another field. So I'm trying to think of like how we can demonstrate this.
Yeah, their example is nice and does give you a good example of it.
It's like a grouping within the Y axis, right? Is that what it's talking about?
Yeah.
So we can see it split by agent. Was this by agent? No.
The top one was by agent, I think. So the top one is by client, and then also the agent. So you're stacked bars within that.
Oh, you're stacked. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Yeah, you're stacked by agent. So you can see that. Let me see. I'm just going to zoom in. Hopefully it doesn't run. Oh, it's actually improved the quality.
If you use, there's a really nice tool you can use to get the release notes, and it lets you click on the images and load them in a bigger screen.
Expand it. That's cool. Is it the tool that you've created?
Yeah, might be. But yeah, this is cool. I like it.
Yeah, so this is, you can see the bar stacked by agent, and then down here it looks like it's being stacked by status, right?
Yeah.
So it's by client, but stacked by status. You can kind of see that grouping as well, right? That's kind of interesting. It's a good improvement to the reporting side of Halo, which is sorely needed, but still not exactly bringing it up to par with like Power BI or any of the complicated ones.
Yeah.
At some point. This is a pretty typical one. This is a lot of people struggle with this. Is if you're looking at your project management, how do you order your tasks? Right now you have to do like some kind of column profile magic to make it show up the way you want it to. So it's just another way of forming the actual tasks to show up in order.
There is a problem with it though.
Okay.
In that it still sucks. If you go into project template for me, or any project template for me.
A project template or an actual project?
A project template.
Okay, so configuration, tickets. We're looking at template, right? Templates.
Yeah.
And then let's say Halo implementation. Here's a project template.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how built out it is. Not at all. Oh, there's a couple.
That's fine. Here. So now tell me how I'm going to reorder the sequence.
I don't know.
You're going to delete them all, and then add them in the order that you want them to appear.
Right. That's what we found out initially.
Yeah.
Which is why we named them as like numbers, so we know which number to put them in as or whatever.
Yeah.
That's why we did that. So you're saying like even though sequence exists, you still can't change it on the template level.
Yeah. Hopefully, we've asked Tim so that the same functionality where what you can do in the actual project is you can drag and drop them to move them around. Yeah, hopefully they're going to do the same thing here, right? Where we can drag and drop the ordering, or just add a sequence, but ideally just drag and drop the ordering to reorder the trial tickets.
Yeah, they started adding drag and drop functionality to like quotes and sales orders and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah.
So it just changes the sequence, right? Yeah. So being able to do that would be kind of cool. I hear that. All right. Let's see what else we got. Quote and quote approvals have been split into two separate configuration lists. I think that's just reworking the quote, the configuration.
Yeah, just the page,
screen.
Right?
Yeah, because it's like there's a lot of stuff going in here. What's funny is that approvals versus general settings, right?
Yeah.
What's funny is that like quotations should technically go under sales, right? Like why is it not there?
Purchase orders, sales orders, none of them are. They're both under there, but sales orders, purchase orders are not under sales at all.
Yeah, POs and sales orders should go there too. I think. But it's kind of interesting. Cool. That's not much
since
there.
you're in config, you can talk about improved billing module configuration layout. They did a similar thing where they just split out the billing configuration.
Yeah, that's coming. I don't know if that's in this release or.
I think it's just underneath it. Improved billing module configuration layout.
Oh, there's one in the middle. What's the one in the middle? Setting has been added to quote configuration to show the product list prices and converted rates. They'll show item. Oh, so if you're doing like multi-currency, I don't know if you're doing that, so we're just gonna skip that.
Yeah.
Improved billing module configuration layout, literally exactly what Robbie's talking about. So like they've essentially broken up general settings into different other areas. So before you'd have like invoice creation variables up here, you'd have like labor and travel and charge rates, stuff like that all here. And now they've essentially broken it up into invoice creation over here. We've got labor and travel, which was previously charge rates, I think. Charge rate settings and travel settings are now here. So they're kind of trying to make it easier to find the settings. You don't have to like read, like a 16-page document to find where the setting is.
And this is one of the few places where it used to also all be cascaded or whatever it is by default, right? You had to click to expand them all.
Yeah, it was
collapsed. You have to open them all up before you control F to find the setting that you're looking for.
Now, here's a tip. When you're looking at that page, you're opening them all up, start from the bottom and then go up.
Yes.
Because if you start from the top, you're going to be scrolling each time. Yeah. Remote support functionality is now available with the ConnectWise control integration, which just means you're able to click on the remote button, probably. So addition to ConnectWise control integration means that you can now use remote support functionality to send support session invites. Oh, okay. That's actually different. That's kind of cool. So using the remote invite or link to remote variables, you can actually link directly to the asset or send out an invite code. So that's kind of cool. Does require version 1.8. So in ConnectWise, in Screen Connect or ConnectWise Control, you would have to go to the extension mod marketplace and upgrade your Halo integration. There's a Halo plugin on that marketplace you have to upgrade. Added new method for line total calculations. You can find the new settings to enable this method. This is a bit iffy. Like, how do you feel about enabling beta functionality for things that come to like billing, pricing?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. We've had it, I think, even internally, where we've been told to turn this on to solve a problem.
Yeah.
But it's beta
functionality.
So like, what is it? It's either beta functionality or it's the recommended thing to do.
Right.
I think it's a difficult one. Equally, it's probably difficult for them, right? Where they think it's better, but they need some people to make sure it's better first.
Make sure it's not going to break other stuff.
Yeah.
And it primarily improves rounding during currency conversion, improves the performance of generating PDFs with large tables, and improves decimal point rounding, and allows more customization how Halo rounds on PDFs. So that's basically it is significant, but it can also cause some issues. Like if it's accurate today, it may not be accurate tomorrow by going to beta, right? Like it may not be ready for that. So it's difficult to know until they run into a scenario where it's broken.
I actually have a funny anecdote while we're talking about the PDFs generated here. So when you generate the PDFs for invoices, quotes, etc., it loads the entire client object. And if you have a custom table that's linked to the client and have an absolute crap ton of data in that table, if that reaches over 30 meg, the invoice won't load because it's bigger than 30 meg because it contains the entire client object.
The actual PDF contains the entire
PDF
object?
won't generate because the amount of data that's being put into, I assume the PDF, Ryan PDF that generates it.
Yeah.
It's too much data, so it just won't load.
Crazy.
They're fixing it, but it's an interesting one.
That's interesting. Okay, good to know. CRM note custom fields can be reordered using sequence values. Okay, cool. That's not.
There's the next one down, dynamic field visibility.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This is amazing.
This is big. So one of the biggest problems that exists when you're doing criteria in Halo is you have to make a decision, or Halo will tell you in the interface. Are you doing like a and statement? Or are you saying like this and this and this have to be true, or is any one of them needing to be true? And the problem is like depending on where you are, it's going to be different because different areas in Halo will follow a different logic, and it'll tell you like all values must be true, or it'll tell you any one of these values must be true. So one of the things that they've started doing was switching their conditions to actually be logical groups. So if we look at, for example, it's going to be on the I guess on the action level, right? Like any ticket
in
type.
your workflow.
Oh, is this on
Oh,
the
you
workflow
can.
only?
Oh no,
it's
yeah.
dynamic field visibility.
That's another one. That's
Yep,
a separate
they've added
one.
it to multiple places now, right?
Yeah,
We're talking about like on the dynamic field. So if we're looking at, for example, email user, and we've got this value of category, and we want to make this category only show up, this one, dynamic field visibility.
Yeah.
If the status is equal to something specific, we now have this additional prompt first, add criteria group, where previously it would take you straight to this screen where you choose the field, and you would have any one of the conditions being true would cause the visibility to match and show up. Now you can essentially create a group of them. So if I do here, we'll do a group of conditions, and then here's the group. And then each group gets its set of criteria, and all the conditions have to be met within this specific group, right? So you can have multiple groups that are now contained in here, and it's essentially like groups of or statements. So group 1 can be true, or group 2 can be true, or group 3 can be true. But every statement within each of those groups has to come back true in order for that group to be true. And so that's how it works, which is very, very useful for your logic. It's also very interesting because most people don't know this, but like when you're dealing with ticket templates, or I don't know if they don't know that, but it's not very...
it's so confusing.
It's very confusing. When you're coming to this children and you want to build up these rules for when children should be created, right? So looking at this, we're going to create only after this instance setup is created. Notice this group number is -1, right? So Halo's already implemented a form of this kind of criteria in ticket templates, and it's been here for forever, since before I started using Halo.
Yeah, a long time.
And the thing is that this is the screen. It's very confusing, right? And this is kind of like the logic that it tries to explain. But it's essentially, you can specify a group number, and then any set of conditions that's inside the same group, they all have to be true. Or any one individual group can be true, and it's the same exact logic. It's just on a very less intuitive interface.
Yeah.
They just recreated this, and they stuck it in the on the condition of the dynamic field visibility. So if you know how that works, you can come back and apply it to how these children get created, because it's the same exact concept, it's just a more complicated interface. So that's interesting. Additionally, client set users and user roles have been added to dynamic field visibility, so that's awesome. These criteria are based on the end user of the ticket, even when logging on behalf of another user. So it's going to be like if I'm logging on behalf of Robbie, it's not going to look at my stuff. It's going to look at Robbie's stuff, because it's Robbie's the end user of the ticket at that point.
Yeah.
Which is good. Right. What else do we have in here? Anything interesting? Add a customer setting to exclude customer from AI functionality. There are some European or German laws that say that like you can't send customer information to like a automated processing system without having it reviewed first to ensure privacy and all sorts of other stuff like that. So this is a good way to just allow them to say like, don't send anything from this customer to AI, like from a protection standpoint, right?
Obviously, as a call out, this is obviously only Halo's built-in AI functionality. If you're doing anything custom, you would obviously need to build out that logic yourself.
Yeah, you can use the same setting. You can just check to see if the setting is on or off, absolutely. But your logic would have to be built.
Yeah. Couple down, or next one down, actually, asset column profile.
Yeah, I saw this on the ticket type setting. So if you're when we were looking at ticket types earlier, looking at the forms, and you saw that setting, and you were like, "Hey, what is that?" It's not on stable yet. It's coming. I think it's down here.
Yeah.
So you can actually now customize the column profile visible to end users on terms of what fields they see when logging a ticket on the asset field. So not sure I'm going to be able to show that necessarily, but you can kind of get the idea.
Yeah, I was hoping they were also adding it just to the My Asset screen, but they haven't as of yet.
Like on the self-service portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
It's a difficult one where, ideally, to be honest, they need to remake the My Asset screen into broken down by different asset type, right?
Yeah.
Because having just one list of assets, that's why key field 1, 2, and 3 exist. However, it's just not a very good experience because people don't know what key field 1, 2, and 3
Oh,
are.
Robbie,
So
what's the reason that we want to get, like, I'm fine giving the client just a report of their assets. And so then
tends to be the way.
Yeah.
I think
they can
it's
customize it.
typically more intuitive for people new to Halo to give them like the My Asset
Sure.
screen, right? But yeah, we tend to go the same way where we'll give them a report that will break down the information. I think
So
it
if
would be
Morgan is watching this, he should just make a report that looks nice for the trial, and then just use that in place of the My Asset screen. Just use that report.
Yeah. It would be really nice if you could go as far as within the asset screen being able to click into an asset and see some details about the asset, which maybe
but
you can
can't,
do.
right?
And then also seeing like tickets related to that asset and stuff. So there's reasons why My Assets would be nicer if you could, if you build it out. But
if you can do that, but you can't right now.
no.
Right?
So they should build
so that's another, yes, they should completely redo the whole, let's move on. Okay. You can now search Ingram Micro hardware catalog directly. It's kind of cool, right? You can connect your Ingram Micro tenant, and then you can actually pull products directly from when you're building out your quote, kind of like Utilize. You can search Ingram Micro catalog essentially.
Yeah, we're still on the incident ticket, by the way.
Oh yes, thank you. I was like, what are you talking about? All right. Out of the ability to enforce that a service should always appear in the favorite services. Opponent access
I've
user
never
or prevent a
used
service
favorite
from appearing.
services in my life.
I've never used that either. I'm not sure what. Various versions of ticket Kanban views. Okay, you can select a default Kanban view on ticket lists.
Yeah, it's nice.
All pipeline stages now show, regardless whether there are any tickets at the stage. What does it mean by a default Kanban view?
So you can set it to Kanban view on a ticket list, but you can't decide whether it's per status, per workflow, or pipeline stage. You can't define which version of Kanban it shows. So now you can, which is cool.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is also really good because the old way was done.
Any tickets at that stage, right? So the swim lanes will always be there, and total pipeline value shows at the top of each column. That's awesome.
Yeah, this will be really good for sales, basically. Being able to see your full pipeline with how much value is in there, like all from one screen, will be really useful.
Yeah, we did this we replaced Notion that was like semi-used. Obviously, we can't replace all Notion. We replaced Notion for a client using essentially like a Kanban view of opportunities with statuses, and we then built a report showing like the totals and sale, like the sale information. He's like, so he's going to two places. Now we could theoretically combine it into one view.
We just added, or Tim just added for me, which might be useful for you. It's not in this version, but will be in, I think, next stable, is the adjusted what is it? Opportunity value adjusted, which is your
based off of probability.
Yeah, they've added that as a variable now. Didn't used to be a variable.
Yeah,
just didn't know. But so I was trying to add that to a Kanban so that we could see what that weighted value was, and you will be able to see.
Cool. This is interesting for if people who have like dev environments or whatever. So if you're doing like sprints and dev environments for config changes, right, with config change tracking, you can essentially like push your changes up. And so then they've added like permissions to determine which agents can actually push those changes up through. So that's kind of cool. User access restricting out group. So this is probably going to be similar to.
It's pretty much the exact same. Yeah.
Like multiple conditions, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing. So they just added it to the user access under service and service category. How come I haven't seen that? So if we're looking at like services, where the heck are you? Here, services, and we go to service group, we can go to user access, and these would be, oh yeah, look at that, same exact interface.
Yeah.
Right? Or if we go to specific service and go to user access and edit, as you can see, it's the same interface already here. You just add and choose other group or individual conditions. Yeah. Cool. That's kind of awesome. What else? New storage method for global settings to improve performance. I turned this on immediately and then ran into a bug where something wouldn't load. I think they fixed it. I don't know. We're still using what was the the bug was regarding recurring invoices not showing the license like a license choice. Very odd.
Right. Yeah,
very odd. Let's find out if it still exists. So it's talking about like configuration. Was it under advanced settings or something?
Yeah.
And then
global settings storage
method. We're going to turn this on to V2, right? It'll be like instant, so to speak. There's not much to do beyond that. We can just refresh the page, make sure it's still there. Global settings storage method, right? Now, if I go to invoices and I go to recurring invoices and I just pick a invoice and I try to do automatic quantity calculation based off, I think it was like subscription or license. The subscription field was missing.
Wow.
So they fixed it. It looks like it's now here, but the top field was just gone, and I'm like, what the heck happened? And yeah, that's that. So looks like they fixed that, which is good. But essentially, like right now, if you know anything about the Halo architecture, like the configurations are split across like what 6 tables or something like that.
4, I think. Control 1, control 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Which is just crazy. Yeah.
And each table has a single row.
Yeah.
And then it's the columns that actually store the different settings.
2 million.
So now what they're doing is they've created another config table, which I think is config 5 or whatever the next number was.
It is, yeah.
And then they literally put in now each setting gets returned back using proper rows. So if we look at like select star from control, for example, we get one row with all of the settings, right? And then if we do control 4, we can see it's the same thing. We get one result. If we do control 5, I think, now we get the different settings that are stored here, which makes it's much more friendly for the database. It's much more performant. It's much more friendly for us. So this is the
only thing I don't like about this is it only returns things which are different from the default.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what the default is.
Sure. I guess so.
That's the only thing I don't like, but that's only from a very niche, like reporting on what settings you have in your Halo perspective, which is not many people are doing. So it's not really an issue.
Cool. So that's that one. That's kind of interesting. Multiple mailbox senders can now be done to multiple teams, departments. I don't know anyone who actually restricts mailboxes.
No, you tend to just set a default, right, rather than restrict necessarily, but the ability is always good.
This is good. A setting has been added to custom field creation that allows non-integer values to be used as the ID. I was like waiting. This is one of the things I was like,
I didn't actually realize this in this version.
Begging for many I don't know, months, I'll say. But right now with custom fields, the ID, the backend stored ID has to be an integer with the way it gets stored on the table. And so therefore, if you were to use something like a GUID or a string as the ID, it would not work. It would either return null or it just would fail to load in your dynamic lookups or anything like that. So this does require, there's some caveats, and it's not like fully ready to be like perfect, but it has already helped significantly. Like we now use in the Rising Tide Huda deployment, like we have we check what branch we want to deploy, like on Docker. We actually pull the numbers from Docker, and so like we use it there as an example.
Nice.
But you can do like direct lookups now to the API instead of storing the value in a custom table and then using the custom tables ID, which is like the workaround we had to do up until this point. Right. So like Microsoft Graph API calls and stuff like that. It's all.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? The idea is this utopia that we're looking at is the idea of being able to pick a group in Microsoft 365. When you pick the group, it loads all the members. You then pick the members that you want to remove, let's say, and then you can select them, and then we can fire off an automation afterwards to actually go and remove those users, right? And by having both the group's GUID and then the user's GUIDs, that allows us to do that. Without that, it becomes very, very difficult, or you're having to base things on name, which is horrific and you don't want to be doing.
Right. Like some of the workarounds that people have been doing, even I think you've been doing, Robbie, is like you create custom tables that literally sync all the groups for that client onto that custom table, or sync all of the users into the custom table, so that we can actually now store an ID value, like an integer value from the custom table record ID.
Exactly.
For that matched GUID, which is just like barbaric.
Remember when I was talking about earlier how you had an invoice where we loaded the whole client?
Yeah,
and it was more than 30 meg.
That's one of those tables, I'm sure.
That's fine.
Yep. Awesome. So that's an interesting thing. You do have to do some interesting, like you have to turn on the new storage method in order to use this. Right?
There's two settings for this, because that one is kind of innocuous in that you just check a box and it doesn't really do anything. The second one is the scary one. And it doesn't say so that one you have to have on, but you definitely also need the one above, which is the scary one.
Yeah, so
you need to use that method,
which really shouldn't be this one, but whatever. You need these two. That's a conversation and we're not gonna rehash. And then inside the custom field, once you do that, so the thing is, what the first setting does is it defines where that setting is going to be stored. You get this option right here, right? And so this is the one that he's saying is scary. I don't necessarily agree with that. I actually like every one to go in each field value, right? By default, it's going to put it into the new method, which is going to be each value gets a separate row. I like it that way. The old method was a column on the parent table. And so what happens is when you open up any one of these custom fields, it'll tell you which table it's in, right? So this is on the false table versus a new field that we just create right now is going to be inside of the field data table, which is different. And then you'd have to now join the field data table to the entity that it is that you're linking from, in this case, a ticket, in order to read that value.
And then there's a link as well, right? Between, obviously, in this case, the ticket ID that it is.
Right.
But it could also be the client ID or any other ID.
Anywhere, anything that you put this, wherever you put this custom field, right? You then have to figure out what that link is for, and then match that like entity ID or like the PK or whatever that
PK ID, I think,
Yeah, PK ID is the primary, right? So you have to find whatever that primary key is and then link that through in the SQL. But when we're dealing with single select fields now, when we're doing this, we can actually choose. I think it's when we do dynamic selection, right? And then there's going to be where is it?
No, I think the second setting just is completely innocuous. I don't think you have to turn. I don't think you do anything.
No, there's definitely a checkbox here.
Oh, really?
Identifier is a non-integer value.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right. Yeah. So in order to use this, you need that second setting on.
Yeah.
Right. The second setting does other stuff too, apparently, because the second setting was there way before the first setting.
Yeah, we have no idea what, but it does some stuff.
But it does some other stuff too, and so then they've locked this checkbox behind that second setting.
Yeah.
And this allows you, so it's not when you apparently not when SQL. Apparently you can't do it with SQL. It has to be custom integration method for some reason, which is kind of dumb. Not sure how I feel about that, but it's okay. Custom integration method does the API lookup and it returns essentially an array. And we're going to say what the ID is. And here we can say the ID is a non-integer value, which will let you use like a GUID or a string instead. So if you're doing like a graph call, that's how it'll work. Right?
Yep.
Let's see. Include clone tickets in the same milestone as the original ticket. I think that caused an issue. I don't know. I mean, it does basically what it says, right? You can essentially, when you clone a ticket, it'll be automatically included in the same milestone. So you don't have to like go back and set all the milestones later.
Yeah.
But I think there was an issue with that. I don't remember what it was, and I think it's been fixed since then. This is an interesting one and a problematic one too. So for people who are on QuickBooks Online, let's talk about, for example, and if you're using, if you freeze your invoice periods, even if you don't, it's still problematic from an accounting perspective, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let's say you do freeze your financial periods, right? So once you're out of the month, you freeze it and you're in the next month. What happens if you try to allocate a So in the month of, let's say we're in September right now, in August we generate an invoice, then we realize that we have to refund something from September, and we want to now apply the credit to an invoice in August that hasn't yet been paid, right? Well, if my month is frozen in August, the way it works today, if I allocate credit to that invoice, it's going to add a negative line entry to that invoice from August, which is going to fail to sync to QuickBooks because you cannot modify the invoice in August when that financial period is locked, right? So this is a workaround to an extent where instead of doing it, the real issue is not just when it's being locked. I actually know where this feature came from, like which client it came from, and with the story behind it. The issue isn't when the period is locked only. The other issue is that because you're changing the actual invoice, the date of the credit is in the month of that invoice. It goes back to August, not September. So it messes up all of your financial reporting because you're showing payment as being received or being withdrawn from that GL code in August incorrectly. It really was only withdrawn as of September. So what they did is they allowed the option to apply the prepayment as a payment to the invoice instead of showing up as a negative line item. And then what this does is that payment date is in September. So the invoice date doesn't change. Doesn't matter if your period is locked. The payment goes on the invoice and everything's fine. The problem is that the customer who created this request did not use QuickBooks Online. They actually didn't use any kind of integrated accounting package. They're using like CSV exports and stuff. And the problem is that in QuickBooks Online, for example, when you apply the payment and the payment syncs back up to QuickBooks, it's going to show a credit against your undeposited funds because it's expecting a payment to have been made. It's now it's waiting in your bank transaction list to reconcile at that point. So that's problematic. You can't use this yet. What's supposed to happen, what needs to happen, is you're supposed to have a credit memo inside of QuickBooks. And then when you apply the payment, you mark it against that credit memo. And because credit memos currently do not sync to QuickBooks, you cannot do this from Halo. So this is a great improvement to how credits are allocated to invoices, but it's still not 100%. In the next couple of versions, probably it's going to be after its current stable. It's probably going to be in the next stable after the one coming. We'll have the ability to sync credit memos to QuickBooks Online. And then if it doesn't already map the payment through, then another feature will then map it at that point. So that's how this works and why. But for right now, it's still not completely usable for people on QuickBooks Online, potentially, unless they're doing like manual journal entries to fix the undeposited funds amount. Let's see what else we have other than that. Change an actions contract from the waiting review list. Oh, that's interesting.
It seems to be hard code the agreement, but the option is there. You can just select some actions, edit agreement, and then specify one. I would assume.
Does it know which agreements to present on the list? Like, I'm assuming you're not.
It's showing me all the agreements for that customer, I think.
Okay, but what if you choose like more than one customer?
It's a really good question.
Right?
It doesn't give you the option. It's really clever.
One buyer of goods or services.
My Google's talking to me.
Yeah, you only get the option if you only select one customer.
Okay, well that's interesting. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't like using the waiting review list. I think a waiting review is a waste of time, and there needs to be better options to go through that. But we won't get bogged down on that conversation here. AWS integration. Do you use that?
No, it's for usage billing for AWS.
Okay.
I've never had a customer use it. Yeah, I mean it's great it exists, but I've no one who uses it.
I don't know if anyone uses it either. This is a big one. Multi-page ticket logging is now available for the self-service portal.
Combined with the saving one, which I don't think is in this version.
Yeah, where it saves your steps or something?
Where you can save a draft.
Yeah. A ticket can now be split into multiple pages that a user progresses through on the self-service portal before submitting. These are split via field groups. Fields not part of the group will be shown on a page with the field group below it, in the ticket field configuration, or the last page. Configurable per ticket type and configuration ticket types under Forms tab, show multiple pages split by field groups, right? So this setting ended up in the right place. I don't know who did the other one, right? Like that's where it should be. If you're looking at ticket
100%.
types and looking at incident forms, we can see show multiple pages split by field groups at this point, and allow logged in users to save drafts.
That's in
gonna be the other
200.
That's
Yeah.
later on. We haven't got there yet, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool setting coming, and it basically just gives you. I was hoping for a picture. I don't know if I have like a field, like a ticket type built out that we can demonstrate,
I might have one I can show.
but that's basically it.
Yeah, I think they're all in one field group actually, so that might not help.
The
Maybe
bulk
they're
option has been added to users lists to change users into service users.
This
Or not
is really cool. This is in just the list of users on like customers' users. It
Sure.
confused me
You're
as to
saying
what the hell they meant by
we
users.
can go
lists.
here. We can just go here and
Um,
just edit and say mark as service or mark as non-service.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. Cool. Let's see what else we got. The default sequence order has been added to product item groups. They'll be used when adding products items to quotes, orders, and invoices. What the heck?
Oh, awesome. This is one of my changes. It used to exist, but you couldn't amend it, is from memory one of the problems. So I think you could set it. So this is like bundles,
like
whatever you want to call them. If you go into product bundles, I think you could set a sequence here. No, you can't. You couldn't before at all.
Here's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think you still can't. Oh no, maybe I'm wrong. Actually, if you click settings, can you set one here? No.
No.
But if you add this now to a quote or an invoice, I believe, I hope, you will be able to then set the sequence of the group to define where the group shows within the invoice.
Sequence.
Yeah, that didn't exist. There was no sequence value there before.
So what is the default though?
I guess 10.
The default sequence order has been added to product item groups. They'll be used when adding product items to quotes, orders, and invoices. It's not talking about like bundles. It's talking about like actual products or items. So I think it's talking about this. If you look at items and we go to item groups or whatever and look at item group, here, sequence and list is, no, that's the group itself.
No, yeah.
Default.
I'm sure it's, oh no, there you go. Default sorting sequence when adding items
to billing entities. Yeah, that's got to be it. Why would they not put that under a tab called, I don't know, defaults? Like, I'm so confused. Okay.
Well, they
Cool.
also added that other change though, because
Which one?
if I add a product bundle right now, I have no option to set
you don't
sequence.
have that sequence option. Yeah.
And they added that because you need, well, we want to be able to do that.
Yeah. So you don't like change the whole, whatchamacallit. If you're adding like multiple bundles to it, we want this to be like 15, for example, and then we can do another bundle that we're adding. And we want this one to be like 10. What the heck just happened? And then we can add all these, and it will just essentially put it above.
Yeah. Can you
bottom
edit,
one.
if you edit the group now, can you change the sequence? And will
And
it move
versus
it?
15. It's hard to know. Let's say
Whether
let's
it'll
do
work,
this to, like, 10. And then we'll set this to like 15. So now we can see what happens. And we're gonna save this. Hold on, let me just pick a client. Save. All right, so now we got my 10 and 15. I can come in here and just move this to become 35, let's say. Save. No, did nothing. In fact, it didn't even save sequence number. That saved it. Nope. I can move the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I can drag and drop it. Look at that.
Oh. Yeah.
I just did it. See, 15 is now on top, 10 is at the bottom.
What did that do to the sequence numbers?
I'm checking 50.
Oh, I changed them.
I go back up here, save it.
This is probably the most Halo thing I've ever seen in my
10.
life.
What if I make this 50? It worked.
Oh, you just have to choose the right numbers.
I have to choose the right numbers.
That makes sense.
Anyways, we are 2 minutes over. I think we've completed the entire release.
We did. Good job, guys.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Definitely one for the books. So our next one is September 30th, same time, same bat time, same bat channel. I think what we'll cover, whatever's next, is that 2.2?
200.
Oh, right. All right. I like
there
round
is-
numbers.
We're not going to finish that one. There is a huge amount of changes in that one.
It's fine. We just have to talk fast. It's okay.
So very good. Well,
Some
thanks
good
everyone
stuff.
for joining us. Any last words that we need, gentlemen, before we go off on our Tuesdays?
Pleasure like always, Robbie.
So, yeah, pleasure.
All right. Thanks y'all very much. We'll talk to you again